All right. Let me know in the chat room if you can hear me. I'm always going to test the audio. I'm always paranoid that it's not working. Let me know in the chat room. Say something if you can hear the sound of my voice. Cool. All right. Welcome back. Impact is over. Wrestling is over for the night. That means it's time to talk about stuff completely unrelated to wrestling. As you do. So we got 3 comic book geek type shows to discuss. And thankfully, none of them were altogether offensive. Even The Flash, surprisingly enough. Oh, it was still bad, but there were a few bright spots anyway. Okay, so starting us off with The Flash in just a moment. As usual, spoiler warning is in effect. Please don't post spoilers in the chat room for people who don't like to be spoiled. Also, please try to stay on topic. So if I'm talking about Flash, don't ask me about Arrow or S.H.I.E.L.D. We go one show at a time, and then afterward, you can ask me about whatever you want, once we're done with all that. So, let's get started with The Flash. Season 3, Episode 20. Getting towards the end of the season, finally. Thank God. I know who you are. So, Team Flash locate Tracy Brand right before Killer Frost shows up and tries to kill her. Good timing on that. They save Tracy, but Killer Frost escapes. How she keeps escaping Barry when Barry has super speed is anyone's guess, but don't get me started on that again. After a lot of stalling, they get on the same page with Tracy, but Killer Frost kidnaps Joe's girlfriend and wants to set up an exchange. So they bring Tracy to some warehouse. They meet with Killer Frost. A fight ensues where Cisco finally gets over the contrived bullshit that didn't allow him to take Killer Frost down the first 2 times he faced her in this episode, and they recapture her. So Tracy thinks up the speed trap device, and it looks like HR is sweet on her. But fuck that noise, because Barry finally figures out who Savitar is and goes to meet him. Turns out Savitar is a future version of Barry, which means that all this time they've been worried about Iris getting murdered by Barry, which I just find fucking delightful. Okay. Thankfully, a better episode than last week. I mean, it would almost have to be, right? That doesn't mean that there wasn't the usual stupidity on display here, though. For example, the following list of stupid things. This whole thing about Cisco being afraid to use his powers on Killer Frost for fear of killing Caitlin. Where did this come from? Cisco has never been worried about his powers being lethal before. Never. It's never been a concern. He's used his powers on bad guys a number of times. And this has never been a problem before. The worst he's done is knock somebody unconscious. The number of people that Cisco has killed, either intentionally or accidentally with his powers, 0. So why the hell is this an issue? Why is he suddenly, from out of nowhere, with no justification at all, afraid that he might use lethal force? Because the plot demands it. Now, if Cisco had, say, accidentally killed someone with his powers in a previous episode and had been racked with guilt since then and lost confidence about his ability to use his powers safely, then this would make sense. But that never happened. They never bothered to set this up beforehand, so it just feels like a bunch of contrived nonsense. Speaking of contrived nonsense, why is HR trying to flirt information about Tracy's research out of her? Getting fed science jargon by Cisco so he can sweet talk her when Cisco could just talk to her himself? Why all the subterfuge? This is completely unnecessary. For that matter, why are they dragging their feet so much on telling Tracy everything? I mean, she's gonna need to know everything in order to build this speed trap anyway, so Just fucking come clean to her. Why are they wasting so much time with this? Beats me. I guess they needed to fill out the episode with something. Speaking of Tracy, why is Tracy so eager to leave the police station? As far as she knows, that's the safest place she could possibly be. Why does she think that Killer Frost doesn't want to kill her when Killer Frost literally just tried to kill her? What kind of sense does that make? Seeing as how Iris gets murdered pretty soon and the clock is kind of ticking on Team Flash thinking of a way to save her since they're not smart enough to simply bring the completed speed trap device back from 2024 or send Iris to Earth 3 or something sensible like that. Why is Wally choosing this time to take a vacation on Earth 3 to visit his girlfriend? Especially when previously he was so concerned about being able to save Iris when the time came. This just seems very out of character that Wally would choose now to bug out to another dimension when... I mean, even if he is planned to be back well before the murder happens. Way to keep your eye on the ball, Wally. And let us not forget Joe. Normally the level-headed and sensible member of Team Flash. Not this week, however. After some melodrama with him freaking out about his girlfriend telling him she loves him and then breaking up with her over it, he gets a reality check when Killer Frost uses her as bait and then apologizes to her and reveals that Barry and Wally are the Flash and Kid Flash, respectively. Off-screen, mind you. Joe, I'm not saying your lady is untrustworthy or anything. I'm sure she's very trustworthy. But those were not your secret identities to reveal. And when he tells Barry and Wally about this, they're perfectly fine with it. They're not even surprised. I feel like something like this should be a bigger deal. Why are they just glossing over this? This is kind of a serious thing that Joe just did. Shouldn't they be having a conversation about secrecy here? When the team bring Tracy to the exchange with Killer Frost, they have a conversation with her that goes for a minute or two, during which time Barry could have easily just sped right over to her, slapped the power-dampening cuffs on her faster than she could react, and saved them all a lot of hassle. Why didn't he just do that? Because it's Barry and he's a fucking idiot. God, he makes the same mistake every fucking week for 3 goddamn seasons. So those were a lot of the stupid things. Believe it or not, there were actually a few good things too. The fight between the Flash and Killer Frost, where she basically rips off Iceman from the X-Men and uses that ice slide to go zooming all over the place. I'm not sure how she's able to slide up on that thing because gravity. I have no idea what's propelling her, but you know what? I'm going to give them a pass on that one because that action sequence was actually pretty fucking cool. And it was never undercut by a moment when Barry could have easily taken her down, but chose to talk to her instead or something dumb like that. So I actually really like that sequence. And also, the Savitar reveal. They did have to kind of spell it out for him, and it was pretty obvious by the time they got there, but nevertheless, Barry does figure out who Savitar is. He puts the pieces together and deduces Savitar's identity by using his brain. And I would be remiss if I didn't point that out and give them credit for it, because it is so fucking rare when that happens on this show. Now, as for the reveal itself, Savitar is future Barry. I actually like this. It's possible that maybe they learned something this time. Earlier in the season, they revealed that Julian was alchemy, and it was the most predictable thing in the goddamn world. It couldn't have been more predictable if he'd had a giant neon sign with an arrow pointing right to him saying, "This is alchemy! This is alchemy!" I mean, everybody saw that coming from miles away. This was different. There were actually a couple options this time. Hang on. Yeah. There were actually a couple options in this situation. Savitar previously said that I created myself and I am the future Flash. So, it could have been Future Barry, it could have been Time Remnant Barry, or it could have been Future Wally. Any of those options would have made sense. I'm not saying the execution was flawless, but they actually pulled this off here, and I think for the most part it worked. Now, even though it's an alternate future insane version, this is the best part. Even though it's like a future insane version of Barry from an alternate future or whatever the hell it is, it does mean that Barry is the one who murders Iris. And that thought is going to keep me warm at night for a long, long time. There is no love lost between me and the writers of The Flash, but thank you for this gift, you guys. I really appreciate this. So, this was a flawed episode that made sure to fill its usual quota of stupidity. Make no question about that. But hey, give him credit. There was actually some cool stuff here too, and that is not always the case with this show. Well, I mean, who are we kidding? That's almost always not the case. Okay. Let's see. Savitar could be Flashpoint Barry, whose timeline was destroyed and wants revenge on present Barry for destroying his timeline. Isn't Barry Flashpoint Barry? I mean, he was the Barry in Flashpoint. Why would there be two Barrys in Flashpoint? I don't understand that. Besides, Flashpoint doesn't exist anymore. The thing that makes no sense. This thing makes no sense. So Iris dies and Barry goes crazy and becomes Savitar, but yet Barry is the one who kills her in the first place. Makes my head hurt thinking about it. No, I don't think that's what they're saying. I think it's just some alternate future version of Barry where he went insane somehow. Or, it's possible that due to his insanity, he realized how utterly dependent on Iris he was. Almost to the point of insanity. Realize he's so dependent on her that she's become this crutch that he can't walk without. And he says, "Look, if I'm gonna be the person I need to be, I got to take out that crutch and learn to walk by myself or something." So he's got to cut the cord. He's got to destroy that crutch. Maybe, I don't know. I'm probably wrong, but whatever. I really like that Barry's the one who kills Iris. That's awesome. They dragged it on for too long. Hopefully next season we get a non-speedster villain. Well, Jesus Christ, I hope so. We're about due for one. We've had 3 speedster big bads in a row. They are fucking due for a non-speedster villain. I know a show is bad when I want to see the villain, in this case Killer Frost, take down one of the heroes. Yeah, well, welcome to The Flash. We're in the same boat, buddy. How come the future Barrys look the same age? Last week it was 8 years in the future, I believe. Now we see a Barry that is even farther along than that, and he still looks the same age. Same age. If anything, future Barry last week looked younger than present Barry. Probably because Grant Gustin is just a really youthful-looking person, and the makeup department either half-assed it or had no idea how to make him look older. So yeah, it's probably just that simple. Okay. Moving on to Arrow. Season 5, Episode 20, Underneath. Adrian sets off an EMP in the Arrow Cave, and because Cisco has made that place so impenetrable, Oliver and Felicity are trapped in there, running out of oxygen. So apparently Cisco can fortify the Arrow Cave like Fort Knox, but Star Labs is still so easy to break into, it's as if the doors don't even have locks on them. You figure that out. Anyway, the team work on getting them out while Oliver and Felicity try not to suffocate on all the methane gas flooding the cave, and also talking about their various issues that they've accumulated over the last season or so. They manage to get out, everybody's apologizing to each other, and then Adrian finds Oliver's son. This felt very much like a cost-cutting episode. You know, a lot of times when shows go over budget or they have to save up money for something huge later on, they'll do a clip show or a bottle show where everything is very contained and nothing huge really happens and just like focus on character development or something. Clip shows are fucking lame and just a really lazy storytelling device. So I'm glad they didn't do that. And I suspect this was to save up a bunch of money for the season finale, so that's probably going to be pretty big. Anyway, as bottle shows go, I've seen worse. I've also seen better. The premise of this is Oliver and Felicity are stuck in the cave and try to hash out their issues, and this is intercut between flashbacks to a timeline, to a time between seasons 4 and 5, when things were still a little bit awkward post-breakup. And to be honest, the flashbacks felt pretty unnecessary here. They didn't provide any new information. Oliver and Felicity admit that they haven't really talked about any of the issues that caused the breakup. They have sex, and then they continue to not talk about the issues that caused their breakup. And that was all the flashbacks were about. I felt like the episode didn't really need this. I mean, we are well aware that they haven't talked about their issues until now. So, I don't know, just all felt really superfluous to me. And I would have preferred they spend this time on something else, but that's really nothing new by now. And we're only stuck with the flashbacks for another couple episodes, and then they'll be done. We can make it. And anyway, the stuff in the present is more interesting, although kind of frustrating at times, because now they're finally talking about their issues, Oliver and Felicity are. But the problem is, their issues were so poorly developed last season that talking about them is just going to shine a light on how ill-conceived they are. Not shockingly, this is entirely due to Felicity and the frustrating mess her character has become. You didn't tell me about your son. You didn't trust me when I joined Helix. You don't back my plays when I back yours. Okay. All right, let's examine these one at a time. I can't believe Felicity is still bent out of shape about Oliver's son. She literally called off the wedding and broke up with him because he didn't tell her about his son, didn't consult her about sending his son away, which made her look like an irrational moron. He didn't tell her about his son because the mother of his son told him that he couldn't tell anyone about his son if he ever wanted to have a relationship with his son. And Felicity knows this. So really, Felicity was just angry that Oliver put more importance on the well-being of his son than on her butthurt feelings. Wow, what an asshole. And why the hell should he have consulted her about sending his son away anyway? Why should she have any say in that at all? She shouldn't. It's not her fucking kid. She has no say in this. And it's not like Oliver had much choice about doing that anyway. He did it to keep the kids safe, for crying out loud. What else was he supposed to do? Well, would adding Felicity to the conversation have led to them making a different choice? No, they would have done the same fucking thing. And then the Helix thing. Felicity, did you ever consider that maybe Oliver had a problem with you joining Helix because Helix was about this far removed from being a full-blown cyber-terrorist organization? You didn't think that would raise an eyebrow or two? All things considered, I think Oliver took that shockingly well. And then him not backing Felicity's plays when she backs his. Really, Felicity, is that what you do? Is that what you think you do? Not lately. Not so much this season. Remember that time, a few episodes back, when you went into business for yourself and changed the mission parameters during the mission, ordering the team to attack Black Siren after Oliver had specifically told them not to, thus losing the team valuable intel on Prometheus? Remember that, Felicity? Was that you backing Oliver's plays, as you put it? There's probably other examples I'm not remembering here, but that was the most recent one, I think. That was the big one. The point is, the issues that broke them up and and have been keeping them at odds this season were pretty much entirely Felicity's fault. But for a big chunk of this episode, they make it out like the problem was never Felicity being an irrational, crazy person, but because Oliver doesn't trust people. They even have Oliver apologize to Felicity first. For God's sake, Oliver! I mean, I know Adrian torturing you for a week really fucked you up, but you are not the one who needs to apologize here. You never were, dude. I mean, literally, in every single case, Felicity is the one who fucked up. And they never even fucking acknowledge that. I'm sorry, but I got very impatient with this. I don't know how this happened, but Oliver has become so freaking whipped by this woman. Is it really too much to ask for the writers to give Oliver his balls back so he can actually call Felicity out on her bullshit once in a while? Jesus Christ. And you know what? The annoying thing is that this is, for all intents and purposes, the main relationship on this show. While Dig and Lila, a much better written relationship at this point, tends to be in the background. Not this week, though. I mean, they're still dealing with that stuff from last week with Dig having a problem with Argus holding a prisoner without due process. And they revisit that here. It's still a nicely handled argument. Lila makes a good point about it being not that far removed from what Team Arrow has done, if you think about it. And she's not necessarily wrong. But this is the kind of stuff that you have to consider when the argument is not just black and white. In the end, things... They acknowledge that it's a complicated issue, and things aren't really resolved, but the tension is eased a little bit. I actually like this subplot better than the Oliver Felicity stuff quite a bit. Eventually, though, they get out. They all make it out. Nothing explodes. And, Felicity finally apologizes to Oliver for being a hypocrite. Thank God. She says she knows why he didn't tell her about his son, which is odd because they didn't really talk about that at all. But it was nice for Felicity to realize how tough it is to be in Oliver's shoes and to own up to how ridiculous she's been acting about a lot of things and how unfairly she's been treating him, even if they seem to skip a few steps in getting to that resolution. Like I said before, it's very rare that the producers take off the rose-colored glasses long enough to give Felicity some actual flaws to cop to these days. So when that happens, I take what I can get. I gotta admit, I wanted to like this episode more than I did. I feel like the writers had the right idea, and ultimately having Felicity being the one who realized that she needs to apologize for a lot of things. She could have apologized first. But, like I said, I take what I can get. But the way they got there was kind of clumsily executed. And some of their issues weren't really given as much attention as they should have. The scenes with Oliver and Felicity were buoyed by some strong acting, but they kind of just focused on the trust issues and glossed over the rest. Presumably so there would be enough time for Oliver and Felicity to get their freak on in the flashbacks, because this is the CW after all, and Lord knows they couldn't leave that stuff out. I've seen much worse bottle episodes. At least they didn't do a clip show, but I wish this one had been a little better than what we got. Felicity is perfect for Team Flash. Not really, actually. No, Felicity is kind of the antithesis of Team Flash. And the problem with Team Flash is that they're all incompetent morons. Felicity is the exact opposite of that. It's like she's competent to the point of ridiculousness. She's like a walking Deus Ex Machina at this point, where most of the time she can do anything the plot requires. Hack into the Pentagon with her tablet. Oh, she can do that, no problem. Give her like 5 seconds, she'll push three buttons and she's hacked in. No, Felicity's problem isn't that she's incompetent; it's that she's become very unlikable from a character perspective. It's like the character just took on a life of its own, and they over pushed her so much that the character just became ridiculous. Really, that's all the comments on the Flash, huh? Interesting. Okay. Well, moving right along. Actually, you know what? Let me just refresh the page. Sometimes that works. That reloads more comments. No. All right. No one really in the mood to complain about Arrow. All right. Okay. Moving on to there we go. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, Episode 20. Farewell, Cruel World. In a last-ditch effort to save Fitz before the team checks out of the framework, Simmons confronts Fitz's dad at his home and tries to lure Fitz there. It doesn't go well. Now pissed off about his dead father, Fitz kind of goes off the reservation, stops taking orders from Ophelia, and follows the team to where Radcliffe built the back door out of the framework, which now has a vat of molten steel where an exit should be. We can thank Ada for that. But Daisy figures out that she can open the door with her powers. Coulson almost gets killed, but May helps him through the door. Radcliffe somewhat redeems himself by helping Simmons get Fitz through the door, but Matt decides to stay behind because he doesn't want to live in a world without hope. She may be a digital construct, but she's real to him, damn it. So then back in the real world, Ada has made herself into a real live human and teleports Fitz away before they can kill her. Because Ada can teleport now. Didn't see that coming. Really, I mean, it's weird. It never actually occurred to me that Ada could create a body for herself that had powers. But now I can't believe it didn't. I didn't think of it before because it's such an obvious thing to do, right? I really like that twist a lot. Anyway, this was the conclusion of the framework story, more or less. I mean, there's still some mopping up. They got 2 more episodes, so it's still basically the same story arc, but they're out of the framework now. So that's more or less open and shut. And they'll probably cut back there to show what Mac is doing, but the rest of them are out now. I think what has me a little torn about this one is that this was the episode where we were meant to get the payoffs to all this stuff going on in the framework, and we did, but not in the way I expected. For example, May's rescue. I thought that was going to be a bigger deal. You know, this has been going on for most of the back half of the season. May being Ada's prisoner. May's been in the framework longer than any of the others. And, you know, there was the tease that, you know, she could have brain damage or something from being in there so long. You know, that was a concern that was raised at one point. But then they get her out. They rescue her. And she's fine. She doesn't seem brain damaged at all. Man, now, yes, they already did a brain damage arc with another character in Season 2, and I don't blame them for not wanting to do the same thing over again, but it was weird how quickly that resolved itself. I thought that was going to be a bigger deal. Weird. Next, Mac finding out that Hope wasn't real. I thought that would be heartbreaking, and it was. Just not quite the way I thought it would be. he learns that he's from another world where hope doesn't exist, so he decides to stay in the framework and be with his daughter because she's real as far as he's concerned. So it's heartbreaking in that Mac is choosing to stay, not that he's learning his daughter isn't technically real. At the same time, it's also kind of heartwarming because he's apparently happy to stay there. Now, it does complete Mac's arc of, at first, not believing the LMDs or AIs are real people, and then developing to where he gives up his old life because he's met one that he thinks is a real person. So, but I thought they were going to go for the gut punch there with, like, Daisy pushing him into the portal anyway or something. And then like, Mac being horrified and wanting to go back and not being able to. Something like that. And I just felt a little blindsided because the show usually goes for the jugular in these types of situations. Now there are 2 episodes left, so they can still do that. And they better not leave Mac in the framework, damn it. This show needs him. He needs to stay. I don't know. Maybe they can build a body for Hope so she can come too. Who knows? I mean, they got that machine that built the Ada body. So they could conceivably use it for Hope, I guess. Yeah, and then there's the Fitzsimmons thing. I wasn't sure how to feel about this one. One of the biggest things they had built up during this framework story arc was how are they going to save Fitz? He's the most isolated from the others. He's the most protected by Ada. He's had his mind screwed with the most. How are they going to get to him? How are they going to break Ada's programming on him? How is Simmons going to do it? Obviously it's going to be Simmons, because if anyone can wake him up, it's Simmons. And then it wasn't. They come face to face. She tries to wake him up. He almost kills her. And then Radcliffe stops him. Doesn't break the programming, but Radcliffe pushes him through the portal, gets him out of the framework. It made sense. Since Radcliffe was the surrogate father figure to Fitz, this was, he was on this redemption arc, having learned how badly he fucked up with wanting to make things right with Fitz and all that. But they had all this build-up for Simmons getting through to Fitz, only to swerve at the last minute. So it kind of feels like they built up something that didn't really happen. At least not yet. Like with Mac, that's it to be continued because of what happens at the end. So there is still room for Simmons to break Ada's hold over Fitz because, that hold might still exist in some form. And this is one of the more interesting character trajectories of the season right here. All season long, Simmons has been really adamant that Ada is just a robot. She's not a woman, she's a thing. So adamant was she about this that she seemed to get almost irrationally angry whenever it seemed like Fitz felt differently about that. So clearly, this was Simmons seeing that Fitz and Ada had some type of connection and feeling uncomfortable about that. So she doubled down on the robots aren't real people thing as a way of avoiding dealing with these feelings of jealousy. And she could always hang her hat on the fact that, in her opinion, Ada was not a real woman. Well, Ada's a real woman now. And Fitz is walking around feeling very confused and disoriented with a brain full of, albeit falsified, memories of being in love with Ada. So, it stands to reason that Simmons is going to be pretty wrecked about that. And I want to see her be wrecked about that because they finally did the whole reveal of Simmons finding out that Fitz and Ada were together in the framework. And they kind of glossed over her reaction. Like, no, that's bullshit. She's just a robot. You gotta wake up, Fitz. So even at that point, she's still pretty much in denial that this is a thing. For this story to feel appropriate, that denial needs to crumble. She needs to face up to the fact that no, this is happening. She's a person. There are actually feelings here. It's only fair. Fitz had to go through this with the space asshole debacle last season. It's only fucking fair. Simmons needs to go through that in order for this storyline to cap off the way it needs to. So that's a thing that needs to happen. So that was another case of getting the payoff for something that was built up a lot, only for the show to do something unexpected. Now, whether that was a disappointing way to go or a brief delay to set up a bigger payoff later, I don't know yet. We're going to have to wait and see. It's still a really great scene when Fitz confronted Simmons. Now that was the show going dark. She can't reach him. He almost kills her. They set up this kind of Disney-esque moment of true love breaking through the programming, and then they go in the complete opposite direction. No, he's programmed and he's sticking to it. And I even jumped a little bit when that gunshot went off, too. That was tense. Also, and some weird stuff I gotta mention. It was strange that Ward wasn't around this week. I mean, he didn't appear in this episode. He just kind of disappeared. I guess they kind of wrapped up Framework Ward in the last episode, but it was odd that he just kind of vanished. And if I can just complain about Trip one last time, I have no idea why people love this character so much. I really don't. I don't think I'll ever understand this. He's always happy and smiling and laid back, even in situations when he really shouldn't be. Like serious situations that you'd think he'd be like tense and acting serious about. He seems kind of full of himself, quite frankly. His first reaction upon learning that Daisy and her friends came from another world is to inquire how many women he's hooked up with in this other world. Why is this supposed to be charming? Why do so many people like this character so much? I don't understand. God, don't get me started on this guy again. They left him in the framework. With any luck, he'll stay there. But Mac needs to come back. We're absolutely clear on that part. Mac needs to return. Ideally with hope and a new body. So that was S.H.I.E.L.D. Really good episode overall, albeit with some weird choices by the writers. The May thing felt anticlimactic to me. I'm not giving them a pass on that one. But the rest of the stuff were mainly story threads that I can't really judge yet because they were left dangling in uncertain ways. And how I feel about them is going to largely depend on how they're wrapped up in the last 2 episodes of the season. I was annoyed that the Fitzsimmons reunion was delayed, yet again, but at the same time I really loved the twist of Ada teleporting her and Fitz away. So, like with a lot of stuff that happened here, that's to be continued as well. Okay. Remember when May turned face again and Ada said it was there because of true natures were winning out? Because their true natures were winning out. Fitz never showed his good side in the framework and shot Simmons in the kneecap, not saying. Yeah. Interesting turn of events. I maintain that it's not quite the same situation because Fitz obviously had his mind fucked with more than the others. But yeah, I think that's going to be a story point, that the others, their true natures kind of revealed themselves, whereas Fitz went really fucking dark. So are they hinting that Fitz maybe has a dark side that he hasn't really acknowledged? Or was like the effect on his father had on him like so toxic that he went all the way dark and couldn't come back? These may be questions that they might ask. Or are they giving Fitz a dark side now? It's interesting the way they did that. I still have a bone to pick with Daisy leaving Mac. She could have knocked him out and threw him in just to save his life. Fucking Radcliffe did that to Fitz, at least. Yeah, but of course then Mac might, never have forgiven her if she had. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I'm just saying this is the story they're telling. Mac didn't think the AIs were people, and now he does. And that's the story. And Daisy she's respecting his wishes, is what she's doing. Yeah, she in a strictly pragmatic world, she could have just pushed him in there, and he could have hated her, and afterward, and she'd just live with it. But that's not the story they're telling. Although I agree, I'm not sure I would have reacted the same way she did if I was in her shoes. He is evil, just had a dark side no one knew about. Yeah. He is not evil. No. Fitz is not evil. He has a dark side no one knew about. Yeah. Yeah. He is not. He is not evil. He just has a dark side no one knew about. I don't think anybody. Nobody's like strictly good or strictly evil. We all have darker parts of our personalities. And I think it is really interesting to give a Fitz a bit of a dark side, because until now he's basically been the show's moral compass. So that's going to hit you harder when Fitz goes super dark. Let's see. I wish Daisy had lied to Mac about his daughter being dead in the real world. He would have come back with her then. Yeah, and he would have hated her afterward. Do you believe Mac is dead? No, he's still alive. As of this week. They teased that he could be in dire straits next week. With the submarine flooding, or wherever the hell they are. Do I think Mac is dead to die? I don't really think so. No. Maybe to kill the black guy again? No. No. I put nothing past them, but I would say no. One issue with this episode would be that they said the longer you're in the framework, the more your body breaks down. May was there for over 2 months and seems no less worse off than the others. Yeah. They did a preview clip. There was a preview clip that went online a little while ago of the next episode. Where May is kind of weak, and she's looking around for supplies, and she finds an adrenaline shot that she's keeping for herself in case she has to fight somebody. So they're showing that she is weaker than the others, which makes sense. So maybe it's not necessarily brain damage, but like a physical deterioration. Maybe it's just like she can't fight as well as she did before. Maybe that's how they're going to explain that, possibly. BJ Britt and Brett Dalton are no longer listed as cast in future episodes, but they could surprise us. Hope and Burroughs are in fact listed for the finale. Yeah, okay. I like Fitz as a bad guy. I enjoyed Framework Fitz. I liked him as a villain. It was cool. Of course, I like that character trajectory. I've said that before. When the character that's originally kind of happy and jokey and carefree, and then develops into going like super dark. I always like it when characters do that, because I just find that journey really interesting. If Ada was going to build herself a body, why not an inhuman one with powers? Or maybe she just has powers from having read the Darkhold. Now, I think she just gave herself powers. Seems to me that's not how the Darkhold would really work. There'd probably be some kind of catch if that was the case. I don't think anyone else is coming out of the framework. On the preview, they show the one in the real world is destroyed, so unless it happens before then, it's unlikely. Yeah, unlikely, not impossible. I love how Radcliffe was basically like, all right, I've heard enough, time to shut up now, and just whacked Fitz. Yeah. Okay. Do you think we will... Alright, guys, try to keep... try to stay on topic here, but yeah. Alright, now we're basically into off-topic mode now. Alright, whatever. Do you think we'll find out who will be Rey's parents in the new Star Wars Last Jedi movie? I believe Snoke or Luke will be Rey's dad, and whoever Laura Dern will play will be Rey's mom. Possibly. I would expect so. We've heard that come up a number of times. Um, I I I, I think Luke being Rey's dad makes uh, thematically Luke being her dad makes the most sense. Whoever her mom is beats me. I'm holding out hope that it's Mara Jade, but I don't think that's very likely. What did you think of the Defenders trailer? Oh, I fucking love the Defenders trailer. That was awesome. Just finally seeing all these characters in the same place at the same time was so fucking cool. When Jessica's getting interrogated by Misty Knight, and then Matt Murdock comes in finally, he's like, because I mean, towards the end of Luke Cage and Iron Fist, I was like thinking, man, there were so many opportunities when these characters should have crossed paths, but they didn't. I mean, especially in Iron Fist, it's like, why the fuck didn't Claire just call Matt? He could have helped with the hand. I mean, here's Danny saying he's the only one who can defeat the hand, and then you expect Claire to pipe in like, actually, there's this guy in Hell's Kitchen who can help with that, but it never happened. So finally, they're all working together. I've waited so long to see this. And yeah, it's really cool seeing Iron Fist and Luke Cage interact, because those two are like your best buds in the comics, and seeing them all in their own hallway fight sequence fighting those whoever the hell those guys are, really fucking cool stuff. I am excited for the Defenders. Ghost Rider will be in the finale. How do you think he'll be involved? I suspect that he'll probably make Ada pay for her sins now that she's a human. Just throwing it out there. Is it possible that Benicio del Toro's character in the new Star Wars movie could be Rey's dad? I keep hearing rumors that del Toro is playing Boba Fett's son. I guess. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. Maybe that teleport is an inhuman backdoor to the pilot. To the pilot? Not sure what you mean by that. If it were me, I would have pushed Mac. Daisy... I would have had Mac push Daisy away at the last minute, thus him making the choice for us, the audience, and not being all over Daisy. Yeah, have Mac push her into the portal before she can push him. Yeah, I could have seen that. That would have been an interesting way to do it. Yeah. It's debatable which one of them would have had bigger dramatic impact, yeah. Thoughts on Shrek? The CGI movie? It's a good movie. I haven't thought about it in a long time. I only saw the first two. After that, I kind of lost interest, but they're good movies. How often do you get the payoff to S.H.I.E.L.D. that you expect? Most times they surprise me. Yeah. Most times they surprise me too. It's still generally in the vicinity of what you're expecting, I think. It's not often that they go like you're expecting. Yeah, fuck. How do I say this? Sometimes they surprise me, but it's still usually in the same ballpark of what I thought was going to happen. It's not often where I'm expecting them to go left and they go like so far to the right that I'm like, where did this come from? You know, that's a really crappy explanation. I'm sorry, but yeah, usually they end up surprising me. The Radcliffe thing that was kind of a shocker though. Did you like the song used in The Defenders? Yeah, I think it worked really well. Never really cared for that particular Nirvana song, but it worked in that context. Sure. Did you hear they're making a Teen Titans live action TV show? Yes, I did. Hopefully, it'll turn out better than Arrow did, than Flash did rather. Inhuman series pilot. Yeah. Do you have a question? Yes, you do. Hang on. Who kills Ada? Ghost Rider, Fitz, May, or Simmons? Uh, hmm. My guess is Ghost Rider. I think it would probably be most appropriate for Fitz to do it. Um, I think that would probably be the most powerful because he probably, thanks to Ada's manipulation, he probably still has real feelings for her at this point. So for him to have to kill her, I think that would be pretty good. That would be really good stuff. I suspect it'll be Ghost Rider though. I like the shot in the trailer when Danny hits Luke in the face, and unlike the other guy, his hand doesn't break. Yeah, I noticed that too. It's because of a callback to that shot in Luke Cage when the guy punched him in the face and Luke didn't even move, and the guy's hand just like shattered to pieces. And here, it's the same exact shot. Danny Iron Fists Luke in the face, and Luke moves, and you see the blood flying over there. Yeah, I like that callback. That was cool. I'm pissed about the reveal of the Inhumans cast in costume. Yeah, okay. I thought somebody would ask me about that, so I have the picture right here. Let's take a look and dissect this. All right. First cast photo. We got the Inhuman royal family here. Black Bolt looks all right to me. I think they recreated his costume pretty well. I don't know why he's not wearing the mask. I wish they'd put him in the mask, but he looks good. Medusa, not good, not good. The dress looks dumb. Kind of looks like mediocre cosplay, and that wig sucks. I'm sorry, that is a bad wig. That looks. If the wig was going to look that bad, I really wish they would just dye her hair, because it looks totally fucking fake. Crystal, I don't know if Medusa looks like mediocre cosplay, Crystal looks like half-assed cosplay. I feel like they didn't really put much effort into that one at all. I mean, at least they got like the thing that like hair band dealy in her hair. At least they put that in. Otherwise, not overly enthused about Crystal. Everybody else looks okay to me. I think Maximus is supposed to be bald, but I'm not gonna not gonna make a big stink about that. Who are the others? Karnak, and what was the other one? Triton. I don't know. They look all right. The rest of them do, but honestly, I've never really been big on the Inhumans. I like a few of the new characters, like ISO. I like her, but I don't know. I guess she's not in the series. It's a show about the Inhuman royal family. I've never really had much of an affinity for these characters. So, I mean, it's just the first shot. Things can always get better, but I'm a little underwhelmed by this, to be honest. Maybe it'll look better when the show starts. Also, no sign of Lockjaw yet, because we know Lockjaw is in the show. I'm really curious to see how they pull that off. Okay. Right. Those poor red shirt bastards from S.H.I.E.L.D. better make it through the finale. They actually give each of them character development, and then they kill them all. Wouldn't surprise me. I think Piper will probably stick around. The rest of them, I doubt it. It's possible. Who knows? Honestly, I didn't expect them to last this long. How do you see Star Wars Rebels ending? I don't know. I haven't really followed Star Wars Rebels. I mean, I've watched some clips, but I haven't really watched the show. I'm still kind of annoyed that they canceled Clone Wars, and we didn't get to see a proper ending to Clone Wars. And then they just started this new show, so I was kind of bent out of shape about that, so I kind of purposely avoided it. I've watched a little bit, though. I've watched some of the Darth Maul stuff, because I love Darth Maul. But I don't really know where they're at story-wise. They keep talking about grounding characters in the real world. This is crap, because the nature of these characters is that they are supposed to be larger than life. We talked about the Inhumans here? Inhumans photo looked bad, but I remember when they showed the X-Men Apocalypse photos and they looked bad too, but they came off great in the movie. Really? Even Psylocke? That's Psylocke. Psylocke, her costume in the movie looked bad. That did not. It's a. I mean, it was actually a perfect recreation of her costume from the comics, but that did not translate well. That was that was a case where they should have changed it. Let's see. Dude, I'm biting my nails, waiting to see if ABC gives S.H.I.E.L.D. another season. Hope they will. Yeah, they're gonna have to make an announcement soon. I'm crossing my fingers, and that's about all we can do. Let's see. Are you going to an IMAX theater to see the Inhuman pilot? I don't know. I'd like to. I'd like to see it as it was meant to be seen. I don't do well in IMAX theaters, though. I went to an IMAX movie when I was a little kid. I got really sick. I got really motion sick. I got dizzy and nauseous. I honestly I felt nauseous in there, and I've kind of avoided IMAX movies ever since because I don't know, I don't do well in them for some reason. I might make an exception for the Inhumans case because I'd like to see it because I know they're filming it with IMAX cameras, so it would probably lose a lot when when it's moved to television. So we'll see. I'm leaning towards seeing it in the theater, but I don't know yet. They're supposed to be creepy and weird with an otherworldly aura about them. Let's see. The Inhumans. Yeah, you're not necessarily wrong. But, like, again, I don't really know the Inhumans that well. That showrunner is a fucking idiot right off the bat, and I don't want to hear some shit about them wearing the costumes sometimes. Let's see. If you miss Rebels, at least watch the Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan fight. Spoilers! Actually, I knew they were going to fight, but don't spoil it for me, because that's one that I do want to see. I'm going to check it out at some point. Medusa's hair is going to be CG. They've shown photos of the actress with a shaved head where they are making it happen. Interesting. So she shaved her head for it, huh? Alright. This wig was just for the promo. Just for the photo. Really? Oh, so it'll be, like, CG all the time? The hair? Will? Because if the wig was just for the photo, that explains a lot. And you have been talking about the Inhumans. Okay, alright. Yeah, you're not really wrong about any of that, but I think Marvel really has the wrong idea about the Inhumans these days. I think they were more interesting when they were kind of like a neutral party and not really the focus of the center of attention, but I think since Marvel realized that they weren't getting the rights to the X-Men back from Fox, there's kind of been this push to shit on the X-Men and kind of push them to the side and like really push the Inhumans and like make so like the Inhumans can like replace the X-Men as far as comics are concerned. I don't necessarily think that's going to work because the Inhumans they don't really. It's like a round peg in a square hole, really. They're trying to make the Inhumans into the new X-Men. It's just that's not their role in the Marvel universe. It's never been. So that's just that's Marvel for you. Their comics division is kind of in the shits right now. Any missed opportunities you think they could have done for the framework? Huh. I think it would have been cool to see alternate versions of Bobby and Hunter in the framework. Now they probably couldn't get the actors back. I don't know. I think they covered a lot of it. We got Ward back. They showed Trip for anyone who cares about that. They showed Bakshi. It fits being like the complete opposite of the way he is in real life. The characters acting contrary to their normal personalities. May working for Hydra. Uh, I don't know. I think for the most part they did a good job with it. Not sure anything else they could have done. I don't know. Maybe bring back some of the villains they fought in the past and make them like good guys. Like maybe like Donnie Gill is in Shield or something. But yeah, She's on like 13 Reasons Why now, so maybe they couldn't get him. Who knows? That's bullshit. You're working with millions of dollars and you're going to put out a shit promotional photo. Somebody's job should be on the line. Marvel may be turning into Fox. Well, I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe they figured that the wig would cost less money than CGing the hair for one photo. Not sure how they'd be able to do that in the photo. And they can do weird things with Photoshop now. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe they took the cheap way out. Yeah, or maybe maybe the special effects with the hair haven't been worked out yet. Because I mean, we're still months away from the pilot. So I read an interview today where they said like the hair was kind of a work in progress. So maybe they haven't hammered out what the hair is going to look like yet. So it could just be a case of them not really them having to put something out for promotional reasons, but not really knowing what the final product is going to look like yet. Are you checking out Guardians of the Galaxy this week? Hell yeah! With any luck, I'll be seeing it tomorrow night. I'm excited for that one. Anything else? Thoughts on the first Guardians movie? I liked it. I wasn't quite as high on it as everybody else was. For my money, I think Ant-Man made me laugh more. But I enjoyed it a lot. I think the weakest part of it was probably the villain, because it was another case of the villain not being all that interesting. It's just another stereotypical I want to destroy everything because evil villain. I think they've had kind of a lot of those at this point, so I was kind of looking for a more complex villain. But to me, Nebula was more interesting, even though she wasn't really the big bad. I liked her a lot more. So I'm glad there's been plenty of her in the trailers. Hopefully she'll have a bigger role. And yeah, but overall I liked it a lot. Same showrunner as Iron Fist. Yeah. Think of the Runaways photo. It looked fine to me. Honestly, I've never read the Runaways comics, so I don't really have like any kind of affinity for those characters. I know kind of what they look like. I didn't really have any major complaints about it. I don't really have an opinion. Would you do a review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? Yeah, sure. If you guys want to ask me about it next week, I'll talk about it. I don't think I'll do a separate video for it. That guy was responsible for the shit seasons of Dexter. Yeah, same guy. Honestly, I don't think those last couple seasons of Dexter were bad. I think the finale was bad. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think the later seasons were that terrible. It just they didn't really measure up to like season 4. And season 4 of the Trinity was probably the best. Plus, I mean, I liked Iron Fist. I disagree with a lot of the criticisms about that show. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't nearly as bad as other people were saying, in my opinion. So, I think there are probably better choices for a showrunner, but yeah, I'm willing to give the guy a shot. And that will be it, I guess. So we're going to call it quits there. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I think the Impact stream should be on Saturday like usual. I don't foresee any delays on that one, so we shouldn't have to push it to a different day. So I expect that one on Saturday afternoon at some point. So follow me on Twitter for updates, because I always update before the stream goes live. At the real FK, I'm at the real FK9. And anything else? Okay, last question. Writers on The Flash, Arrow, and Supergirl have no fucking clue about the characters. They don't understand the basic mechanics of superheroism. I don't know. I think Arrow more or less. The characters on Arrow are more or less written competently. I think Felicity is just the major one that they screw up with these days. I guess, and Oliver when it comes to Felicity. And otherwise, I think the characters on Arrow are fine. Flash, yeah, they Flash writers have no fucking clue what they're doing. And Supergirl, I'll take your word for it because I don't watch Supergirl. And that is going to be it. So follow me on Twitter at TheRealFK9 for updates on when the streams go live. And I will talk to you guys most likely on Saturday. Over. Out.